Hello, I'm Larry Woods. Of all the annual or classic competitions that we turn out for that involve trained animals, it can be said that the majestic prancing of a grand champion Tennessee walking horse is pure artistry in motion. Nothing quite compares to a calm, handsomely groomed rider putting a barrel-chested stallion through its military strut. But the unique prance and the precise gait we associate with walking horses does not always evolve through bloodline alone. You see, some critics charge that many walking horses, most of all those competing at blue ribbon contests, are conditioned by intense pain over many months in order to lift their hooves chest high. Others say the weighted chains and padded shoes those horses wear inflict no more resistance or pain than a person wearing a heavy bracelet all day. The most controversial question is whether chemicals are used to blister the horse's ankles and to conceal the scars caused by the chains. So we asked Special Assignment Correspondent Sheila Hershow to hang out with the horsey set for several months and give us a report on why some champion walkers strut the way they do.
High-stakes horse shows and high-stepping horses, the blue ribbon, blue blood world of the Tennessee walking horse. Where horses from all over the country come to compete, and a grand champion can be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Show horses are judged on their distinctive, high-striding gait. It's called the big lick. To produce a big lick worth big bucks, many trainers prop the horses up on padded shoes stacked 4 inches high. They hang a so-called action device, a 10-ounce chain or a 14-ounce set of rollers, around the horse's ankles. Critics say these devices are cruel, but inspectors hired by the walking horse industry to check horses for pain or injury say the stacks and chains are harmless. Inspection Program Director Benny Johnson.
Well, your 4 inches of pad in your action device is really what has made this horse as popular as he is.
Sharon McCaleb inspects horses in California. The chain doesn't hurt it.
No. Does your watch hurt you?
No, but my watch doesn't move up and down on my arm.
Your bracelet does if you've got a bracelet on. And in comparison to your weight, a heavy gold bracelet that you wear all day long doesn't do any more to you than a 10-ounce chain does to a 1,200-pound horse.
Bangs, bangs, bangs on him. You're doing this for bite, what they call bite. The chain ain't biting the horse enough, so you put more chains on.
California trainer Jenny Jackson says by the time many horses reach the show ring, their legs have already been battered by overweight chains and blistered by chemicals like oil of mustard, diesel fuel, kerosene, and lighter fluid. Using pain to change a horse's show gait is called soring the horse. Federal regulations prohibit that.
And it's very common. It's as common as putting a bridle and a saddle on.
Californian Donna Benefield says to compete against other sored show horses, she let trainers illegally soar one of her own horses until her conscience rebelled.
I saw them soar the horse. I saw the horse laying in his stall moaning and groaning where he could barely get on his feet. I saw the trainers go in and whip him onto his feet so that they would be able to get him out ready to go into the show ring, saddle him and get him ready.
Jackson says she used to torture horses this way until she quit in disgust.
In order for the horse to give that swim action, that freaky action, lifting and throwing his feet out in front of him, you have to use a soaring agent, either oil, mustard, whatever he may have, diesel fuel, and you put in this area, and it makes it more sensitive. It soars him, and when that chain hits that area, keeps banging on that area, the horse tries to literally climb out of that chain, trying to get away from the pain.
Jackson says Missy, a valuable mare, has been ruined by years of soaring. Her joints swollen by extra high stacks, her legs scarred by chains and mustard oil, her hooves cracked and foundered. The painkillers Missy must take, Jackson says, have caused her to miscarry twice in 1 year.
She's been messed up. She's been, screwed up. She's gone.
Jackson, Benefield, and others now boycott shows where horses wear chains and stacks. They say these devices alone can cause soaring. Do you think that there is a great deal of soaring going on?
Absolutely not. No, the horses are shown better. They're presented. I mean, it's gotten 500% better every year since the program started.
The industry-hired inspectors say more than 99% of the horses they check are sound and unsored. Critics say the inspections are a farce. They say trainers condition the horse not to flinch during inspection.
And you just touch her like that, and she'll go ding, ding. She'll shy away from it. It hurts. So You don't want her to do that. You want her to stand there and take the pain. So you have somebody standing up by her head, either cranking her down with a stud chain, you know, in her mouth, a chain in her mouth, or a whip on his side, or a board, whatever you decide to use. But they'll either strike the horse in the head, or they'll strike the horse in the side, meanwhile yelling at it, stand up here, you know, be still, you know, or quit.
That's called stewarding the horse.
I think that got to me even worse than the soaring, the stewarding. It was really very difficult to stomach.
Did this horse pass inspection?
Yes, it did, every time. Well, a couple times we were told to take it back to the stall and steward him a little better. He was getting a little too obvious.
In other words, the inspector told you to go back to the stall and teach your horse not to flinch?
Yes.
The American Horse Protection Association says 2 years ago it videotaped inspectors passing show horses that were clearly in pain.
Now there's an obvious reaction to a palpation. That horse could, if he was allowed, he'd probably go right over backwards. Now he's just reacting from thumb pressure on his pastern.
This horse had passed inspection. Now, if you notice, this guy's got both of his hands on the horse's bridle, and as soon as he tries to touch his legs, it takes, you know, trying to hold the horse with two hands because the horse is so much in pain.
Before inspection, we were told, some trainers pinch alligator clips inside the horse's mouth to distract him from the pain in his ankles. Others use graphite to hide soaring scars and hair loss, or Vaseline and bloodstop to disguise open sores.
The horse is supposed to go through inspection with a clean
Yeah, they're not supposed to have anything on it.
pastern. So whatever he's applying
It's illegal.
is illegal.
We showed the American Horse Protection Association representatives undercover videotape we shot in Tazewell, Virginia in April.
Again, you can see the horse having an abnormal stance, known as goat on a rock or standing in a bucket. Very typical of the show Tennessee walking horses. It's a pain relief method of standing.
Oh, as you can see, as he's spraying on the horse's foot, the horse is lifting his leg because it hurts. He could be putting some kind of an anesthetic or a hair color. They'll spray hair color on their legs. But whatever he's doing, the horse is not happy about it.
We videotaped 2 horses arriving at the show with their front legs covered in plastic wrap.
This horse has probably had the saran wrap on for possibly 24 hours or more before coming to the show. And it's used to allow different types of irritants to be absorbed into the horse's skin.
Plastic wrap is also used with salicylic acid, DMSO, and other chemicals to painfully strip away soaring scars and calluses that would disqualify a horse from competition.
You have a lot of horses that trainers, or the not professional trainers, or backyard trainers we call them, abuse the horse. Then they take him to show and they cannot get him in because of scar rule. Then you have a professional trainer that stays up to date on everything and they can remove these calluses. Well, when you removed them and got the hair growth back, then you know you have put the horse back being in compliance with the Horse Protection Act so he can go on show.
Critics say that means cleverly sored horses can compete, and only clumsily sored horses, like this bloody example, would be barred.
Stay with us. We'll have more on this controversial practice when we return. If you're wondering whether critics have explored this controversy, they have, but critics say their actions haven't gone far enough. For example, a leading university known for its work in animal husbandry performed a study for the U.S. Department of Agriculture a while back that showed added weights to the ankles of walking horses induced tendinitis and lesions, but that's about as far as the matter went. Federal authorities so far have refused to ban the use of all weighted devices that will stimulate a walker to reach higher and higher as he parades before spectators and judges. The practice of soaring one of these prized animals, that is, hurting him to make him walk a certain way, apparently has been going on for the past 30 years. And during that time, some experts say a lot of horses have been put through some unnecessary pain for the sake of showmanship. Sheila Hershow continues our story.
The Tennessee walking horse, a beautiful breed at the center of an ugly controversy. At issue, whether some trainers create the show horse's artificial gait, called the big lick, by deliberately hurting the horse's front legs.
What he has is a grotesque, and I mean grotesque, manner of using his back end to protect his front end because it hurts so damn bad.
We exaggerate our gaits with show horse, and a lot of folks don't like it.
They're in pain. They're doing something that is totally unnatural.
I've got 2 or 3 horses in the barn that are 15 and older that are still going. And you know, if it damaged them, looks like they'd have given it up somewhere by now.
At this Los Angeles horse show, fans of the Tennessee walking horse watch and cheer. But others boycott shows like this because some horses compete in 10-ounce ankle chains and stacked horseshoes weighing several pounds. Trainer Russ Thompson says propping a horse on 4-inch high stacks doesn't hurt the horse.
Build him up 4 inches if he wants to, 3 inches, put a 3 pound, 4 pound, whatever he needs to enjoy his horse. Have fun, and don't abuse that horse.
Jacob Israel comes from walking horse country in Tennessee. He now shoes horses in California. He says he's seen chains and stacks cause strained tendons, arthritic joints, bone displacement, and most commonly founder, which cracks the hooves.
And that's well established that stacked horses and founded horses are almost synonymous terms.
Walking horse inspector Sharon McCaleb disagrees. She's paid by the industry to check show horses for pain and injury.
They have absolutely less leg problem, and I'm talking your show horses, have less foot and leg problems than any other breed.
When that foot blows apart and it actually opens up and you look in to see that bone, you only need to see one of those. You never want to see another one.
At the Los Angeles Horse Show, we saw 2 stacked show horses McCaleb inspected stumble and nearly fall. This horse in the show ring and this horse in the warm-up ring. Watch again in slow motion. Jacob Israel says a misstep can cost a stacked horse his foot and his life.
If he happens to knock that shoe off in a certain way, that band becomes a shear and cuts that toe off.
A few years ago, the stacks and chains were the subject of an Auburn University study requested by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. That study found evidence that horses on 4-inch stacks can suffer tendinitis and hoof abnormalities, while 10-ounce chains can produce swelling and lesions within 10 days. Despite this, the Agriculture Department has not specifically prohibited these devices, and a federal court has upheld that decision. It's also legal to cut and brace a walking horse's tail to change its angle.
They make one little cut right there, right?
Right.
And they put a scalpel in there and they turn the blade and cut this muscle here, turn the blade, cut that muscle there, and then they put a brace to hold it this way.
The horse must wear a heavy metal and leather tail brace like this one, which is often irritating to the horse. Now illegal training methods developed in past decades have included blistering the horse's legs with oil of mustard, gouging the ankles with jagged chains, lining the stacks with lead, and driving nails into the horse's hooves. Horse owner Bill Mussman.
I remember a day and age when you looked at a Tennessee walking horse feet and you didn't see any hair from the first joint down to the hoof. It was just all scar tissue. That doesn't happen anymore.
This photo, taken in North Carolina last year, helped convict walking horse owner Dennis Cannell of animal cruelty. Local animal control director Diane Quisenberry.
And you can see the scarring and the raw places. And we later found that he had mustard on his tack box and very heavy chains.
Stable owner Bill Williamson turned Cannell in.
He said he got his methods from a walking horse barn that he used to train at, where he worked.
He said he was taught to do this.
He said he was taught, that's correct.
He really didn't think that what he was doing was wrong. And at one point I recall him saying, you just don't understand how you're supposed to train Tennessee walking horses.
Agents often used for soring are easy to buy. This Tennessee store sells ankle chains that are nearly twice the weight regulations permit. In Virginia, DMSO is advertised for sale at a horse supply store right on the interstate. At the Tazewell show, we bought DMSO, salicylic acid, and a callus remover called Cut Heel.
I didn't know you could use DMSO for that. I knew you could use salicylic, but I thought you had to cut it with alcohol.
Well, some people use DMSO, some use alcohol, and the best thing to use is Cut Heel.
Trainer Jenny Jackson says she used to use salicylic acid to strip away scar tissue that is evidence of soring. She says she stopped because the treatment causes the horse as much agony as the soring.
She'd creep to her stall because it hurts, and that night you check on her, she'd probably be laying down moaning. It's real painful. It's as painful as the oil. It just gets in there and grabs that skin and pulls it off.
Don't go away. We have more right after these messages.
Tennessee is the heart of the walking horse world. Horses are the state's largest agricultural product, reportedly worth close to $500 million a year. The most valuable Tennessee walking horses, like Pride's Final Edition, win show ribbons for their exaggerated gait called the Big Lick. A champion stallion can be artificially bred to more than 300 mares a year, earning his owners hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Now she is bred.
Since the 1950s, some trainers have sored their horses, burning or battering their front legs to create a flashier Big Lick. Today, federal laws against soaring are enforced by industry-hired inspectors under the direction of former trainer Benny Johnson.
I'm not saying we wasn't guilty in the past, and I participated in it like everyone else when I trained years ago.
He says more than 99% of the horses checked by his inspectors are sound.
In my opinion, the inspection program is simply the fox guarding the chicken coop.
Californian Stephanie Green owns Cajun, a walking horse who, she says, once belonged to Sonny and Cher. Cajun has won prizes competing against flat-shod Tennessee walkers called plantation horses. Green says the high-stacked horseshoes and ankle chains worn by the Big Lick horses are cruel, though they're considered legal. She says because she complained that industry-hired inspectors were allowing obviously sore horses into the ring, Johnson defamed her at a public meeting, saying
that I was mentally ill and receiving money from the state of California for mental illness, and they shouldn't use me as a champion of cause because I had been caught cheating on my versatility program booklet, which is not true, and they completely slandered my name.
Are you mentally ill?
Not that I know of.
Supported by the state of California?
No, I'm not.
And do you cheat?
No, I don't.
I did not say this stuff about Miss Green at no seminar.
Johnson says he can prove he did not slander Green because he has a tape recording of his remarks.
Now, there is a tape available of that meeting, but you say that we can't have it? Or?
No, ma'am.
We can't?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Well, it's just not available for them.
Two witnesses, however, told CNN they heard Johnson call Green dishonest and mentally ill. Then there's the matter of the walking horse exhibition at the 1984 Olympics.
A big man for prize generator, the three-time world grand champion stallion.
Donna Benefield, shown here on her flat-shod champion plantation mare, says one of Johnson's inspectors told her Stephanie Green would not be permitted on the Olympics grounds during the walking horse exhibition.
They said that if I did allow her to come with me to the Olympics when I was doing the exhibition, they wouldn't allow me to show my horse.
Benefield, like Green, says the show horses competing in Big Lick events are often in pain. Both women have been kicked out of their local walking horse association, and Benefield says she received a threatening phone call telling her,
"Tell me that I better back off. And if I didn't, the boys from Tennessee would be out here to pay me a visit, and that he would hate to see me get physically harmed."
It's frightening. They are controlled by fear, intimidation, and threats.
Helen Serha says fear kept her silent a few years ago when a trainer sored and lamed her horse.
I felt like if we had spoken out at this time, that you might have found your horse dead. They intimidate you so.
North Carolina stable owner Bill Williamson says despite threats, he testified last year against a walking horse owner who gouged and blistered his horse's legs.
He even made verbal threats to my boarders, my son, and on the barn in general.
To document soaring, Susan West and Tenny Mudge of the American Horse Protection Association say they took these pictures at public shows 2 years ago, even though U.S. Department of Agriculture employees warned them this was dangerous.
We normally go together simply for safety reasons. We've been advised by USDA people themselves that we should not go to shows alone, and that we should be very careful where we go with our cameras, especially during after dark hours.
In California, they tried to throw us off the showground.
At that same showground in April, trainer Russ Thompson threatened a CNN crew member who carried a small tourist camera into the stall area. Thompson later laughed the incident off.
Does it sound familiar that you told him that you would hire the biggest, blackest son of a bitch you could find to tear his head off?
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not.
You're
Were
not
you?
talking about me, are you? Are you talking about me?
That sound familiar, Mr. Thompson?
I don't recall that.
Thompson explained that trainers are sensitive about accusations of animal cruelty.
We tried hard to, to keep our image right. And our horses has come so far that it's unbelievable.
Critics say if trainers were serious about stopping cruelty, they'd stop using chains and stacked horseshoes now considered legal. They say even those devices can cause pain and injury.
I don't think you'll ever end it. As long as there's a ribbon to be won and money to be made, somebody's going to abuse a horse somewhere along the line.
Sheila Hershow, CNN, on special assignment.
That's our program for this weekend. If you feel compelled to share some of your comments with us, as always, we'd like to hear from you. And that goes for anything about this particular program, or maybe you have a suggestion for a possible story our viewers would be interested in. If so, drop us a line. Write us in care of Special Assignment 111 Massachusetts Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. 20001. Again, that's 111 Massachusetts Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. 20001. Thank you for joining us from Atlanta. I'm Larry Woods.